Welcome to Legacy's Journey, where we talk about creating what outlives you. I'm your host, Cameron Williams, owner of Kinley Consulting, where we focus on strategic financial growth for marketing agencies so that they can live the dream life they deserve and not be a slave to their business. And of course, we do that through CFO services. Now, this is season two. We're going bigger. I told y'all, we doing our research. We putting feelers out. We tapping our network and saying, you a good person. Tell us more good people that we need to talk about. And one of my peeps was like, I got the perfect guy for you. This guy's doing it at an extremely high level, but he's a very, very solid person. I think you'll be able to talk about some of him and everything, and it'll provide a ton of value. So I'm like, all right, who is it? Connection. And she's like, you got to talk to my boy, Jeff. So I'm like, all right, Jeff, we had a super short conversation. I was wild in like 0.3 seconds. So I was like, this is perfect. So, ladies and gentlemen, introducing Jeff Minnichbach.
Got it. What's up, Cameron? How you doing, man?
It's another day. It's a little rainy today, actually. I'm just glad it's not as cold as it was last week because it was terrible.
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm in Maryland. We had those sub-zero temperatures for like a week. It's been
And
brutal.
I've been in Maryland when it's cold. Y'all got different cold than Georgia cold.
Yeah,
So.
it was brutal this past week.
Yeah, they kept saying like, "Cam, you got to get a up north coat." I'm like, "I got a coat." They like, "No, it's two different types of coat. They got down south coats. They got up north coats. You got to get those." I learned really quickly the difference too.
Yeah, it was brutal, man. It's now we're in spring temperatures this week. It's we still have 4 inches of snow on the ground, and it's 50s and 60s this week. So interesting start to the year.
That's crazy. All right, let's jump into it now. Tell the people name of company, and how long you guys have been around, and just a general synopsis of like who you help and serve, and we're gonna get into it.
Yeah. So my name is Jeff Minnichbach. I'm the founder and CEO of No Limit Creatives. We're a subscription based graphic and video design service. Started back in 2018. We're in our sixth year of business, and we cater to pretty much any type of business in any industry that needs creative support on a budget. So we work with a little bit of everything from startups and small businesses all the way up to larger Fortune 500 companies.
Okay, so you see right there. Got the time, been in the game 6 years, works with some of everybody. All right, so let's jump into the story now. I know a little bit just because we do research on every person, just because you know how y'all get, oh man, this person, what has he done? So I'm telling y'all now, it's not a road to $1 million agency. The $1 million agency is here. So let's just start there. Okay, so you've been doing this for 6 years because we started in 2018 as well. So some people would say, I'm gonna just throw this out there, and I know you're gonna laugh, but we're gonna do it. Well, how in 6 years did you go from just starting and having to come up with your concept and what you were gonna be great at into a multiple six or multiple seven figure company? What does that journey look like?
It started almost 20 years ago, pre NLC, and I was a freelance graphic designer, kind of just teaching myself with videos online and bidding on jobs through Upwork and Elance. And I saw that there was a need for more consistent creatives for a lot of smaller businesses that couldn't afford to pay per project or per hour. It just got too expensive. So um, that kind of issue or problem was like, wow, this is like an aha moment for me. I could do what I'm doing as a freelancer and try to turn it into a business. And I really didn't have any goals to be a business owner. I just liked the freelancing thing and working when I wanted, take off when I wanted, and that was a great gig. But the uh, the freelance revenue is very up and down, as a lot of people know. It's very inconsistent, and so I came up with this subscription model and tried it out, and uh, just use Facebook groups and kind of word of mouth and referrals to get some business drummed up. And it got to the point where I was too busy to design myself and needed some help. So I was using freelance websites that I was actually freelancing on to hire. And that's kind of where the journey started to begin in 2018. It's just kind of a group of freelancer freelance designers that all came together and started working on projects, and we were like, wow, we've got something here, and the demand was huge. We were one of the very first companies in this little niche industry, um, and yeah, I mean, the rest is kind of history. It's just been a constant growth cycle year after year for us, and we've done a lot of big things over the last 6 years. But yeah, it's kind of just started as a freelancer, and then kind of weasel my way into this business, not deliberately, just kind of fell into it. So
Mm, okay. So now you kind of, it started as kind of like, switching it up. Then you see this idea. So now let's start talking about the team. Now, all of us know when, let me rephrase that. If you don't know, you're not getting to a million as a one man shop. So how do you transition from, like you said, it's us as a bunch of just different contractors working toward the same goal to like, oh snap, I need to make somebody an employee. I need to make somebody over projects for project management. I need an account manager. How do you start now making that subtle shift from everybody does everything to nope, I need you to do specific things and identifying which skill set works the best for each person?
that's a great question. I did not have a business background, so a lot of things I was kind of learning on the fly, and I started to see some weak areas for us. And when I was just getting too burned out, I'd only had so much time in a day to do things, and realize I need to start delegating at some point if I want to keep growing this thing. So pretty early on, within the first year, we had more business than we could handle. So we started hiring more and more freelance designers. And then we got to a point where we had to start breaking out into teams, like bite-sized teams in the company. And that's really what help take us to the next level. So we've kind of gone from the a bunch of freelancers working together to starting to build out teams and servicing a certain number of clients on each team, and then we had to start hiring QAs and creative directors and project managers. So it just constantly evolved year after year. But for me, it got to the point where I could only do so much in a day. I saw the demand and the need for this service, and decided, I really need to make this a legit business. I don't even think we were registered as an LLC or anything in the first year, because it was kind of a freelance style thing, and it didn't expect it to be what it is today. So there was a lot of figuring things out as we went, and starting to put some different teams together and see what we needed or what we're missing. Um, and the as we started to build these bite-sized teams, that's when things really started to become super efficient, really quickly scalable. It just was so much different than having 20 freelancers all emailing one another and trying to work on projects through email. We started putting some systems in place. There was just there wasn't really a plan. It kind of all just fell together naturally as we progressed and evolved. And yeah, I mean, we just kind of started with that mindset. It's like, let's put things together on smaller scale, smaller bite-sized groups, and it was a lot easier to process all these requests coming in.
Okay, so a gradual process. Now, I'm sure on the road to hitting $1 million and later, you say, okay, you started to learn who you would identify as a great employee versus like, I like you as a person. So now, what would you tell somebody who's on that road to that $1 million agency? Like, if I were you, these are the types of people to target, to look for, or these are the kind of like intangible skills, or what's your view on like the technical aspect that you can learn versus personality? Like, walk us through that because I'm starting to hear that a lot of people that's where they're getting stuck. I'm at 4 to 500K or maybe 600, but I don't know the best way to hire. I don't know what role to go for next in order to get me to that last jump to hit that $1 million agency.
Yeah, so we're kind of a unique setup. The business is fully remote. We've never worked together in an office setting. We have contractors and employees in about 20 different countries, and we used every tool that I got business through as a freelancer, we were using to hire and recruit. So these were Facebook groups, freelance websites. We did some paid LinkedIn posts, things like that. But we started hiring designers. We got a really wide mixture of people. Some people in certain countries we were hiring in were putting up work in portfolios that they didn't actually do. We were kind of trusting everything they were saying without doing a lot of digging, and that was a huge problem for us. So we learned that very quickly into our journey, and we actually started putting together like screening tests to weed out these tire kickers, people that weren't serious about working for us. So, as a designer, for example, when you apply for to work at No Limit, um, we have a sample, like a test brief that you have to go through and make a mock-up design, so we can see your comprehension skills, how you understand the briefs, what you take from that brief, and what you're going to create on the other end of it. We like to see how their written and verbal English is and stuff in interviews. Now, it's a little different from traditional business because we're hiring in all different countries where English is not their primary language. So there were some things like language barriers that were an issue, but um, we really hired a lot of creative superstars early on, and they were people that they were very outgoing, very personable. They were very driven. I find that a lot of people in other countries seem to be more driven than a lot of Americans, and that's kind of why we started looking in other areas, because these people would just they were everything you needed and wanted in the business. And it didn't cost a ton to outsource either. So we were looking for super driven people, great leaders. We were looking for early on. We didn't hire a bunch of leaders right off the start, but we were looking in interviews for people who were potential leaders, um, that really understood the business and the market and what design's all about and what the service is all about. So there was a lot of different things we were looking at like that. But
So what do you think makes him a good leader then? Because a lot of people would say that's very subjective. But again, I just want to tell the audience, very successful guy, right? You see, he's super chill, super humble. But I know you have, I'm not gonna say a formula, but some type of science of, on average, we've identified that if they can do ABC, that tends to imply they have great leadership skills. What have you found those to be?
Yeah, and that's a great point, because we've hired leaders, we've promoted designers to leadership roles because they were great designers, and we thought they'd be great teachers to teach other designers their skills and get them on par with their experience or their skill sets and their quality. And then we found out that doesn't make a great leader. So we thought that because they were great designers, they could be great teachers and leaders, and that wasn't always the case. So we really looked for people that were super understanding. They weren't hot headed. They weren't. They were great listeners, and people that believed in the culture. Like, this is a remote business; it's really hard to build a culture like that.
Right.
So we wanted people that really believed in building a strong culture. Um, and they could also educate people and help them grow, and that's the kind of things that were like most important to us as we grew, is we want to have people that kind of work like we do in upper management, that can help guide people to grow internally, as designers, and hopefully groom them to be future leaders as well. But there's not any crazy science to it. It's more of a, for me, it's kind of like a gut feeling. I've been able to work with people for several years and get to communicate with them on a daily and weekly basis, and you just really feel who a great leader is. There's not a whole lot that I look for that's the same for every single person, but I think the best leaders that we have are the people that are just really laid back and chill. They're not super harsh on designers. They're not critiquing them in like a bunch of negativity. It's always like, okay, I understand your issue. Let me help you through it. Or you made a mistake. Well, let's move on from that. And we learn from it. Just kind of stuff like that we really look for. And we've been kind of lucky to get a really good mix of leaders from different areas, and they all kind of share the same values. So, there's not any crazy formula to it for us.
Okay, I got a good one for you. Okay, now you mentioned you have some talent overseas and some local. Now I gotta go here because you know this is a super hot topic. Pros and cons of overseas talent versus local. And you already kind of mentioned like overseas people don't mind putting in the work. So give us like three and three. Three great reasons to go overseas, three cons, and why you, and of course the other for local.
Yeah. So obviously the work ethic, it's truly a problem here. I mean, we run into it all the time. We have people that want to make a lot of money and not put in the work and the effort here locally. So these people
Right.
overseas, super hard workers, they will. We can get the same skill and quality level as Americans for a fraction of the price. The overhead is way lower when you're outsourcing, and you're giving people amazing life changing opportunities in countries that are a lot less fortunate than the U.S. And that's been a huge thing for us, is just being able to bless people with consistent income and new opportunities, and that was a big deal for me as a leader.
Okay, there are your three: work ethic, fraction of the cost, elevation of lifestyle. Okay, let me go here. Do you think you could build $1 million agency with all local talent and no overseas talent
Yes, you could. It
and
would
still get
be.
to $1 million
Would you say? Sorry.
and still get to $1 million?
Yeah, you could do it. Maybe not in profit, but you could hit a seven figures and with local talent for sure. I think what's helped us get there is outsourcing has allowed us to set lower prices for our service. So that's a big deal for us. We're able to get a lot of volume of clients in. We're not charging a super high, crazy amount of money for our service. Where locally, hiring domestic, we'd have to be charging a ton more, and could be a lot more difficult to get there.
Okay, I like that. So notice two big things. If we had to hire locally, our prices have to go up. And you said something super key, maybe not in profit. So I think that's a huge thing that a lot of people don't realize because they're like, well, I want to make $1 million. That's just gross. We're not talking profit.
That's
And
right.
that's what we get into, which I'm sure you can speak to. Let's go there. A lot of people struggle just with the thought of, well, if you make $1 million, you may have to spend 800,000. A lot of people are not used to spending 800,000, so they're like, "What?" So get into
Yes.
that for us. Get into that finance piece of like you're gonna have to make a different type or different, yeah, I guess different type of decision as $1 million owner as you would with it's just 500,000, for example.
Yeah. I mean, as a freelancer, I was super tight, and even when I was hiring freelancers at the beginning, I was like pinching pennies constantly. I was super concerned about spending money to grow. Um, Once we hit that $1 million mark, obviously we did a lot of hiring. Our labor skyrocketed. We pay over 300,000 a month in labor right now as a business, and
Wait. You said per month
yeah,
just in labor.
yep.
Mm.
Yep. Yeah, it gets crazy, and that's outsourcing as well. So it's we've had up right under 400 employees and contractors last year. Um, we did a little bit of layoffs to reposition ourselves for some different goals and stuff this year, but yeah, we are spending a ton of money on labor. For us, stuff like stock subscriptions for licensing and stuff for the creatives is a big expense for us. So it's something that you 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 flinch when you have to start spending that kind of money, but it's necessary. I mean, we that's what has taken us to the level that we're at today. We're really it was a gradual increase in spending over time, but we come from no investments, no capital. It was all bootstrapped from the beginning with no cash injections. So we were constantly reinvesting what we were making into hiring and tech and stuff like that. So there was never a time where we were having to go out and get loans and not sure if we could pay it back. It was really we were only reinvesting profits that we were making to help us get to that next level.
Whew, that's a lot right there. That's a lot. Okay, let's go. Let's break this down because I think, and I could be assuming, and we know what they say that means, but I think for people to understand what is it like to pay $300,000 in just labor. Now that's to your point. That's not talking about your tech, whatever's running all your CRMs and systems and how you guys communicate and what holds stuff and parties and gifts and all repairs and maintenance and all those pieces just in labor. And you said you have a team of you said 400?
We did. We're down to about 300 now.
Okay,
Yeah, but we
300. So how do you manage expectations and structure of the company and reporting and who does what? Like, I know this means you're not hiring, of course, every single person anymore. So just kind of walk us through that journey of from freelancers to 300 people.
it's all about delegating for us. I mean, I learned super early on that I can't do it all. I tried. It was mentally just ruining me. So I had to be okay with trusting people and delegating certain things to certain people. So, without delegation, I mean, I think a lot of entrepreneurs just get burned out. They're trying to do everything themselves, or maybe they're super particular, like I am, and just really like to do things a certain way, and it's hard to let go of that responsibility. So delegating was key for us, and I built an upper management team that shares the same ethics and values and cultural beliefs and everything that I do. Um, and those guys have been able to take that throughout the entire company, all the way down to the most the lowest levels in the team. So for me, it's just delegation. You have to be okay with trusting people and giving them responsibilities, and also not answering all their questions for them and giving them all the answers. Like people, they don't learn if you just always give them the answer, and that's another thing that
That is
uh,
fact.
I struggled with for a while. It was like I just wanted to help them get the answers and move on, and they just weren't learning that way. So it was really like, well, what do you think we should do? And I would start to kind of flip that around and ask them, put them on the spot. What do you guys think we should do in this particular situation? And it's really started to be able to groom them to be better thinkers, and some of those guys better leaders as well.
I love it. Like you said, it's about focusing on the outcome, not just do this, do this, do this. No, you know that we're trying to end up at a completed product or a project or whatever the case is. What do you think we need to do to get there? What steps would you take? Flipping it back on them. So excellent leadership there. Okay. Now, I want to go here because this is what you put in our notes. Now, you said that you have partners
Yes.
that acquired some of the business. Let's talk about that because I think that that's a huge thing going into 2024 and probably the next few years. Some of the older people may be kind of getting tired and they want to sell their agency. So acquisitions and mergers and all of that is really hot right now. Tell people what would be three things that you would suggest if they are trying to sell their company. What are three things that they should make sure they should have in place prior to that decision?
Great question. I've learned a lot of things. We've actually been acquired twice. We got acquired back in 2022, and then last year, at the end of last year, we got acquired again, and I came in as part owner again. So that was quite a journey in itself. But your books have to be on point. I mean, people dig through your financials from top to bottom, and if they're not in order, say goodbye to the opportunity, because the due diligence is no joke. And if you get a serious buyer, they're going to do their homework, and they're not going to just give you a bunch of money and take your word for it. So, the books are super important.
Fact.
Um, for us, having documented processes and our tech stacks and everything outlined exactly how we do things was really important for a buyer as well. Um, and in our particular case, we're doing over $1 million a year in profits. So that was what will take you from getting 1 or 2x multiples on your business to 3 or 4 or 5, depending on what industry you're in. And that was a big thing for me too. Was like I didn't want to sell a company unless I was over that $1 million net income level. So that was a big thing for me. And if you're looking for a much bigger multiple, that would be a great goal to try to achieve first.
I love it because we talk about that all the time, like with our, social media content. And I'm going to even add to that, like, I think it's important to, like, you already hinted at that you guys do this and said that you do, that it's important to have a leadership team. Like, everything can't run through you, but you already had a team in place that people can report to. So even if you did leave and do your final hurrah and I'm never working again, there's still a very competent team that you've built in and educated and invested resources into. You talked about SOPs, you talked about having the financials. And I think to your other point, like having a actual goal for the company, not just we want to make a bunch of money. No, we want to do this. We want to serve this. These are our offerings. Like all of that has to be on point and tweaked and ready to go prior to, all right, somebody come buy us. And I think that's great advice. Tell us, I don't want to say 3 things you shouldn't do, but I kind of do because I feel like if you got acquired twice, then you kind of know what you shouldn't do too. So I'm gonna ask it 3 things that could very seriously not work in your favor if you want to get purchased.
I think they're for me. I They wanted both times they wanted me to stay on. They didn't want to acquire the company unless I was going to stick around. So I think it seems to be a bigger deal right now for people that are acquiring businesses. They really want the owner, the leader, to stay on board and help them get to the next goal. But I I think you need to do your homework as well on who wants to acquire you, because there was a lot of details in the first acquisition that actually didn't happen. I probably should have done some more homework on the company that acquired us the first time, but um, I would say to definitely have several calls with people and make sure you know who you're dealing with. Um, but I didn't learn a ton of don'ts out of this. I did learn some, but you know, there was a lot of issues that just made this thing not work out the first time. That's kind of ultimately what put us in the position we're in today, which is being reacquired by somebody else. And you need to have some goals in mind as well, like you said, because that's a big deal. You're not going to sell your company exactly how you said it, with like, oh, we just want to make money. And we had very clear goals that we wanted help with. That was kind of the reason I sold NLC. Was I took it to a certain level. I can't grow without capital or more support, and that was something that it didn't happen with this acquisition. It just kind of fell apart in a different way. So I don't have a lot of things to like any don'ts, but I would just say to make sure you really research who's going to acquire you and really get to know them and what they're going to do with your baby, especially if you're going to stay on, because um, if your goals don't align, it's going to create a pretty toxic environment and relationship with one another.
Okay, I like that. So you dropped gems and you didn't even know it. You feel like, see, I got you. You like, I ain't say nothing. You said, look, I got my notes Everybody knows I take notes while they're talking. All right, you said, are you staying on? Which is important to note because, like you said, what if I don't want to stay on? Is that going to hurt the price of what you want to offer? You said, know why you want to be acquired. In your case, you said, well, hey, we need more capital in order for me to take it to the next level. And this is the best way that you figured out you could do that while still keeping everything moving in the right direction. And then lastly, you hinted at it multiple times. Do your research and know them. It's one, yeah, you may have the money, but what are your people like? What's the vision? Are you going to be super controlling and micromanaging? Are you here to just kind of support, give us the cash, and as long as we hit our KPIs and metrics, you're all for it or whatever? Are you going to be jumping hands in? Like all of these things are important. It's not just sell it for 3x and then move on with your life. So do you want to share why you came back in? Because you said the first time they acquired it, you were out. So there had to have been a good reason why you decided, it's worth it for me to come back.
I stayed on the first acquisition. I was a CEO, but I sold 100% of the business to some venture capitalists, and and that didn't work out how we had all hoped. So when the opportunity popped up with a new buyer, they were gracious enough to present me with part ownership of NLC to come back in and grow it for another 3 to 5 years. And I really, really loved the guys. I have two partners now. I really loved everything about them, and they were exactly like my leadership team. They shared everything that I would want in a good partner, and they put their money where their mouth is. They have the track record, and they've bought and sold multiple businesses. They built some huge ones. Um, and I loved what they thought they could do with my vision, because that was my whole hope with the first round of the acquisition was take my ideas and help us get there with some investments and support. And these guys, they've already kind of built some of the tech stuff in a previous business that we're trying to do now. We're trying to get into white labeling, which they've already done. So they had all the experience and the skill sets that I did not. And it seemed like it was a no brainer for me. I would be happy to stay on. This is my baby. I've watched that go up and down, good times and bad, and this was an excellent opportunity for me to come back in and get some equity in NLC again. Still remain CEO, but have some great partners that can guide me through their extra years of experience that I don't have.
I love it. See, this second round, you had done your homework. You actually enjoy working with them. Great. Okay. Now we gotta go back to finances because you started with your financials have to be in order. So I was happy about that. Let's
Yes.
talk about who you have running the financial piece, the CFO, more than likely. What are some cool things or cool strategies, just one or two, that they are suggesting to help you to get these goals accomplished? Because you're talking about SaaS, you're talking about tech, you're talking about managing these high labor costs, you're talking about still matching fulfillment and making sure we're charging the right rates. So, what are some of the cool things that your CFO is maybe suggesting? Hey, let's try this strategy or let's focus on this.
You'll be disappointed to know that we don't have a CFO. I was a person of many hats. We had a CFO under the first parent company that acquired us, but it was at the parent level, very little involvement with our business. And we've had different accountants, CPAs, and bookkeepers that have kind of helped us keep things in order. But the new partners now, they have a lot of financial background that I don't have. Immediately coming into this acquisition, the second time, it was January 1st was the official start date for the new three owners, and these guys were coming in like kind of a checklist. We have ideas for cutting costs. We have ideas for getting more efficient, merging things together to reduce labor. They had a whole series of ideas already within the first couple of weeks of January that we went through, able to work on negotiations on some uh, bigger partnerships and stuff that we have with stock sites, stock asset websites. Um, but yeah, I mean, there's no CFO currently. There will be this time around, and we'll have a board of directors most likely. But currently, there is not a CFO officially. It's kind of a few different people working together to hash that stuff out.
Okay. What is your best investment to date that's produced the greatest ROI? It can be anything.
It's not financial. I would have to say the investment was in myself. I think I had tried to be self-employed for a long, long time. Even I mean, it started back in my preteen years, just kind of doing the hustle and bustle of helping neighbors cut lawns and detailing cars and watering people's flowers when they're out of town. It started very early on, but um, I really tried to get into the design world in my late teens. People never really gave me the opportunity because I was a young guy. They, what experience do I have? You didn't go to college. You don't know the design programs that we need. I mean, it was really discouraging not getting the opportunities, which is why I'm so interested in giving others opportunities now. It's like I didn't have that chance when I was younger to jump into something like this, and I think I could have been a lot further along if I did have that opportunity. But um, you know, all the sleepless nights, the stress and the migraines, just of trying to be an entrepreneur and a business owner. I put every ounce of energy and effort into myself, and it was a huge payoff. So it's not a financial investment. It is in some ways, I guess, but it was really just putting all that trust and faith in myself and knowing that I can do everything I'm trying to get done.
Okay. Okay. I like it. I don't think you can beat yourself. That's a top
That's
tier
right.
answer. Okay. How about this question? Tell us three things that you would tell a newer agency to not do in order to get to $1 million. So if you may be at 500, don't make these mistakes. These three.
I would say I'm a fan of marketing being in house. Believe it or not, I've actually, if you're going to be doing marketing, I think it's important that you can control that outcome and not be just another client. It does. It's okay for certain businesses, I think, but for us in particular, we really needed to start bringing in some roles to help us internally with our marketing efforts and not having people in house to help us like learn and understand and live and breathe the brand was a big issue for us really early on. We tried a bunch of different agencies and outsourcing, and everybody did a great job at the marketing side, but there was no we weren't their only client, so it was tough to grow the business that way. We had to start filling some roles internally. So just on the marketing aspect, I think you could still use agencies. There's nothing wrong with agencies, but having somebody internally to kind of lead the direction for those agencies and be the voice for your brand, I think that's an important thing. I think not trying to do books yourself unless you're a financial guru. I mean, I tried to do that early on. I don't know about um, employment taxes, workers' comp, all that stuff that you would need to know. I have several U.S. employees. I didn't know anything about that, so I had to hire the right people to help me with that. So don't try to do that stuff yourself if you don't know what you're doing, because IRS is no joke. I've had issues with them in the past for other reasons that came back and bit me because I didn't know what I was doing. So that's another big thing, I think. And then don't don't try to do it all yourself. I mean, you have to be okay, like I said earlier, with delegating responsibilities, and you can only do so much, and you're no good to the team and the business and the growth and scaling if you're burned out all the time. So I'd say that's my top three.
There you go. Don't do your own financials. Y'all know I can't preach that one. Make sure you have a marketing person in house that can kind of spearhead and make sure that if you are going to outsource it, that they are staying in tune and in line with the vision that the company has. And then the last one, don't be solo. You need some help. It's okay.
That's right.
Okay. I love it. I love it. All right, now let's kind of switch it up a little bit, switch the tone. Now, see, you just rubbed the beard right there. You got the ring on, which means you got paid. So now
Good segue.
tell us, how do you now running this top tier company, constantly finding the best leaders, constantly giving the best fulfillment, keeping us all going in the right direction? How do we not lose Bay in the process? Better yet, before you even answer that one, when you started the company, you could go, "Hey, babe, I think I'm going to start NLC," and she says, "What?"
She was all about it. She was a private duty nurse at the time. She worked in medical lab, then she became a nurse. I was freelancing. She saw that the growth and success really quickly as a freelancer, and she's super supportive in everything I've done. So she was fully on board and super supportive of everything I've done up until now. So it was not a problem. She was all for it.
Okay, so now she was super supportive. Now it's been 6 years. How do we keep the fire going, but still be able to pay attention to the awesome goals that you have for the company?
Uh, it's I have to have that work and personal life balance. Was as a freelancer, I was working super long hours, weekends. I was always working, and that was not good. So when I started NLC, one of the first things for me was work set hours, like 8 to 4, 9 to 5. Don't work nights, don't work weekends, don't look at your emails. I still look at emails every day, believe it or not. But it was really important that when I was done work, I'm done and it's family time. So I've been able to do that consistently since day one. And I think that's been a really important deal for all of us in our family.
Do you have something like that the family looks forward to? So, like in our house, every Saturday is pancake day, right?
Oh, I love that.
Sundays we do church together, of course. Friday they do movie night. I don't always make that one because I can only watch Frozen so many times. But do you guys have something that you guys look forward to, like as a family?
We love food, we love to eat, and we love takeout. We try to do every weekend. Usually, we're ordering some takeout from a restaurant. That's kind of our fun thing to do. My wife and I love to game as well. We play Xbox. Kids like Xbox. So that's something we also uh, do as a family. But yeah, I think like we just really love to eat out and try new places, and that's really something that we always look forward to.
Okay, okay. I love it. I love it. So keeping that balance so
That's
that
right.
wifey don't hit you with the death stare. I love
That's
it.
right.
All right, let's go here now. Let's go back in time. So let's go back to high school or college you. If you know everything like right now to this second, and you can only go back for 30 seconds, what would you tell the high school version and the college version of Jeff?
I would say don't take no for an answer. I always just said okay, no problem when I try to get an opportunity and do some kind of project. And I kind of a pushover. You just don't know. I mean, you just kind of go with the flow when you're younger. But I would say if I was as aggressive as I am now with business development and partnerships and stuff and getting work, it'd be totally different, I think, today. But that's for sure something that I would say is just don't take no for an answer.
Okay. How has your definition of success changed from 2018 when you were just starting versus today's version? Because I know a lot of people are like, back then I was just trying to pay the bills, or back then I was trying to prove to the spouse that it could work, or prove to myself, versus now it's about the kids or experiences or whatever the case.
That's you're spot on with that. I think I just wanted the business to work and have some kind of consistency with my income. Then, as things progressed, it was like, man, I'd love to hit $1 million in revenue one day. We hit $1 million. That wasn't as exciting to me after that. It was just like, okay, now we're doing things. For me, and I've said this earlier, but it's creating the opportunities for people in these other countries that don't have these kind of opportunities traditionally. was probably the biggest deal for me. It just really completed me as a person, and it was great to hear people get their first apartment by themselves. Culturally in other countries, it's custom to live with your family and for a long time. You're supporting your parents and your siblings. So to move out on your own is a big deal. To get a car is a big deal. That's not a very big thing to do there when you're working locally. So things like that, and just being able to see us give opportunities to spouses where the husbands and wives both work for us and they've started families, and that kind of stuff is just amazing. So that to me is I feel very successful as a person in general, just to be able to give opportunities like that.
Okay, okay. I love that answer. Serving others. Okay. What are two or three things that you do on a consistent basis that you would say contributes to your success, like just you as a person? Like if I don't do this, this, and this, they may be a little rough.
I think being available for your team, anybody on the team, is super important. I've lived by this since the very beginning. It's an open door policy, even though we're remote. Um, I've always made it clear that anybody from any level of the business can chat with me about anything. It doesn't matter, personal life, work life, whatever. I think that helps build a great culture and a foundation for the business if you're always open and receptive to talking with people. Um, I think building a strong management team was a big deal for me. It had to be a group of true leaders who want the business to succeed as much as I do. They're not just here for a job. They have an end goal in mind with me, and they want to get there together. So that's very important that I have those types of people working with me every single day. We're always chatting and on calls, hashing out new ideas, and also having fun. And it kind of goes back to the culture aspect of the business, but being able to do like fun competitions, get-togethers. We play Uno online each month as a team, and town hall meetings, just things that make everybody feel like they're part of this and they're not just showing up for a 9 to 5 and then they go get off the computer and whatever. I'll see you tomorrow. It's really that cultural aspect is a big thing for us here, and I think it's what's made us super successful.
Let's dig into that some more because I know that was a question at our last mastermind where they were talking about being virtual. It is so much harder to build that culture. So, do you have maybe, I don't know if you want to say some tips, but what are some things that you've seen work really well to help mesh not just a local, but a virtual local company and overseas to make it one cohesive company? Like, what are some maybe suggestions or we did this and we loved it. Why don't you guys try that type thing?
We did some really fun contests and things over the years. We did a talent show. We had anybody from the company that had a talent to record themselves, and then we did a virtual talent show basically, and submitted all the videos, and we presented each video. We had people with amazing talents like singing and instruments. We had artists doing paintings upside down and flipping it over, and you'd see what it was all of a sudden. I mean, we had some crazy entries. We had virtual cooking shows where people from different countries would show you how they cook their favorite local dish in their countries. So we did stuff like that. Sorry, my camera's blurry. We had done Halloween contests virtually. So being a design company, we take our Slack profile pictures and Photoshop ourselves in different costumes. And some of the results were crazy. Like people were doing insane Photoshopping on themselves. And we do town halls every month where we don't do it every month. We're going to be doing that. We do it every quarter now. But town halls is just kind of like opening up the floor through Zoom. Um, for questions, company updates, goals, objectives, accomplishments, and just making everybody feel like they're always part of something. I think that's really important. it is, like you said, it's way harder to do that remotely because you're not physically in an office setting with people. You're not seeing them in person every day. But because we have so many people in different locations, we have specific areas where we hire, and a lot of them have gotten together in person and been able to build friendships, out of this remote business because they all live by one another in major cities. They'll go out to do pubs and bars and get-togethers in different places. So all that kind of stuff has been really successful for us.
I like it. I'm laughing in my head at like this Photoshop because I can only imagine how
Oh
creative.
yeah, we had some good entries.
Okay, last question. What has being a business owner taught you about who Jeff the person is?
That's a good question. I think it's really being a business owner has pushed me to my limits in every way imaginable, and I've really learned that I can perform well under stress. I can take constructive criticism very well. You have to be receptive to feedback. Um, but yeah, I think it's really shown me that I can push the limits and still be successful. Even at my worst.
I love it. All right, well, you guys know he has a team of 300 people, so he got to get back to it. But before you go, tell the people if they want to work with you, who you serve, like what's the best website or lead magnet or whatever the case is in order to get in touch. If they just want to connect with you, the person, learn more about you, your story, this is your time to tell them all of that.
You can check us out at nlc.com. And like I said, we service pretty much anybody in any industry. If you have a designer that's overworked, they can't keep up with your requests, we can be your overflow team. We can be your outsourced in-house team if you want, if you don't have a designer. But yeah, visit us nlc.com. You can check out some of our work and get an idea of the pricing and the plans that we offer.
What if they want to just connect with Jeff? Because Jeff is so cool. He has all this knowledge. Jeff, I just wanna meet you.
Just look me up on LinkedIn. That's the best place. Even though I get a lot of spam on there, I'm still checking on there every day. I get some weird requests on there and messages, but yeah, that's a good place to learn a bit more about me and kind of my journey and accomplishments, things like that. I'm always around to chat.
Okay, so he's a LinkedIn guy. Don't
That's right.
spam him. Because if you spam him, he's hitting delete. All right. Well, Jeff, thank you so much for coming on, sharing part of your story, your journey. You had so many good things about acquisitions, what's important, which you probably shouldn't do. You talked about it, building your team, how to make sure that culture stays consistent and how you can grow it and get people from all the different parts of the country and the world to be able to take place in that. Just your mindset and being willing to grow, being willing to challenge yourself. So many good things here, guys. As always, you need to check it out, share it, tag a buddy who's on that road to $1 million agency so that they don't make some of those same mistakes or hit those same speed bumps like Jeff was trying to warn you to not do. So I loved it. I think this was a great episode. I'm happy that we were able to connect. Any last words?
Thanks so much for having me. It was great. I appreciate the jam session, and thanks so much, man.
All right, y'all. So, per usual, this is season two. We're very serious about our guests, who we're bringing on, because we want to give you guys the value. We're bringing on people that are willing to share their journey to give you guys value so that you can get there faster than they did and do it more efficiently. So, we appreciate y'all. Until the next time, everybody stay safe and see you on the next episode. Peace.